The winter wind cut through the pine forest like a blade, and Emma Castellano had never felt more alone. She'd been running for 3 days, not in her wolf form, but as a human, stumbling through snow-laden trails with nothing but a backpack and the clothes on her back. Behind her, somewhere in the vast wilderness of the Northern Territories, lay the smoldering ruins of everything she'd ever known. The Castellano pack had been small but proud, nestled in a valley where the old ways still mattered. Emma had grown up knowing every face, every story, every secret whispered around the fire. But secrets had a way of becoming weapons, and her father, Alpha Marcus Castellano, had kept the most dangerous secret of all. When the Shadowfang Coalition discovered that he'd been harboring refugees from their territory, they'd come in the night with fire and fury. Emma's father had shoved her toward the forest's edge, his eyes wild with a father's terror. "Run," he'd commanded, using his alpha voice for the first time on his own daughter. "Run and don't look back." She'd obeyed, hating herself for it with every step. Now, disoriented and weak from days without proper food, Emma had made a critical mistake. In her desperation to put distance between herself and the Shadowfang hunters, she'd crossed into unmarked territory. She didn't realize her error until she caught the scent. Wolf, but different. Wilder, stronger, ancient in a way that made her own bloodline feel like a whisper in comparison. The Blackthorn pack. Emma's father had told stories about them, warnings really. They were the ghosts of the North, a pack so isolated and feral that even other shifters gave them a wide berth. Led by an alpha known only as Fenrir, though surely that couldn't be his real name. The Blackthorns didn't welcome strangers. They didn't negotiate. They didn't forgive trespass. She should have turned back. Should have risked the Shadowfang hunters rather than face whatever waited in these deeper woods. But her wolf was stirring, restless and confused, responding to something in the air that Emma didn't understand. It felt like recognition, like coming home to a place she'd never been. The attack came without warning. One moment Emma was alone in a snow-dusted clearing, and the next she was surrounded by wolves, massive creatures with eyes that glowed amber in the fading light. They moved like shadows given form, circling her with practiced precision. She counted 5, then 7, then lost track as they blended into the twilight. Her own wolf surged forward, ready to fight, ready to die with teeth bared, but Emma forced her back. She'd seen what desperation looked like, and it never won against numbers. "I don't mean any harm," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm just passing through." The largest wolf, a beast nearly 4 feet at the shoulder with fur the color of storm clouds, shifted. The transformation was fluid, effortless, speaking to centuries of bloodline refinement. The man who stood before her was tall and broad-shouldered, with sharp features that might have been carved from the mountain stone itself. He wore simple clothes that appeared from seemingly nowhere. Pack magic, the kind that only the strongest bloodlines could manage. His eyes remained wolf-bright, fixed on her with an intensity that made Emma's breath catch. "No one just passes through Blackthorn territory," he said, his voice carrying the rough timbre of gravel and honey. "Especially not a lone wolf reeking of smoke and fear." Emma lifted her chin, calling on every ounce of her father's pride. "I'm Emma Castellano. My pack was destroyed. I'm seeking sanctuary." Something flickered in those amber eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or recognition. "Castellano," he repeated slowly, as if tasting the name. Marcus's daughter. The fact that he knew her father's name should have terrified her. Instead, Emma felt that strange pull again, stronger now, singing through her blood like a forgotten melody. Her wolf was pressing against her skin, not in aggression but in longing, desperate to get closer to this stranger. "You're coming with me," the man said, and it wasn't a request. He turned to the other wolves, who had remained frozen in their circle. "Stand down. She's not a threat." "Who are you?" Emma asked, though part of her already knew. Only one wolf could command the Blackthorn pack with such absolute authority. He looked back at her over his shoulder, and for a heartbeat, Emma saw something raw and unexpected in his expression, something that matched the chaos rioting through her own chest. "Fenrir," he said simply, "though my pack knows me as Declan Blackthorn. And you, Emma Castellano, are either the answer to a very old prophecy or the biggest mistake to ever walk into my territory." He started walking, and Emma's feet moved before her mind could catch up, following him deeper into the forest. Around them, the other wolves melted back into the shadows, but she could feel their eyes tracking her every movement. The setting sun painted the snow in shades of pink and gold, and somewhere in the distance, a howl rose, lonely, haunting, and achingly familiar. Emma didn't know what waited for her in the heart of Blackthorn territory. She didn't know why her wolf recognized this stranger, or why her father had never mentioned that he'd known the most feared alpha in the north. But as she walked behind Declan Blackthorn, his massive form cutting a path through the deepening snow, she felt something she hadn't felt since the night her world burned. Hope, and the terrifying certainty that her life was about to change forever. They were massive, larger than any shifter wolves Emma had encountered. 7 of them materialized from the twilight, their eyes glowing amber and silver in the fading light. They moved with eerie synchronization, circling her with the practiced precision of a pack that had hunted together for years, perhaps decades. Emma's wolf surged forward, not in aggression but in response, as if recognizing something Emma's human mind couldn't process. She gritted her teeth, fighting for control, her hand tightening on the silver knife. She knew how this looked, a lone wolf, trespassing, armed with silver. There would be no mercy here. "I don't mean any harm," she said, her voice carrying across the clearing despite her exhaustion. "I'm just passing through." The wolves continued their circle, silent as ghosts. Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. Her father's training kicked in. Never show fear, never show weakness, and Alpha's daughter bows to no one. She stood straighter, lifting her chin even as her legs threatened to give out. The largest wolf stepped forward, and Emma's breath caught. He was nearly 4 feet at the shoulder, with fur the color of storm clouds and eyes that burned with ancient intelligence. Power radiated from him like heat from a forge. Alpha power, the kind that made every submissive instinct in her body scream to bare her throat. Instead, she met his gaze directly, a challenge in wolf culture that could mean death. The shift rippled through him like water, and Emma watched with reluctant fascination as the massive wolf became a man. The transformation was seamless, effortless, speaking to a bloodline so pure and old it made her own ancestry look like a footnote. He stood before her in simple dark clothes, pack magic, the kind that only the strongest bloodlines could manifest. His presence somehow even more overwhelming in human form. He was tall, easily 6'4", with broad shoulders and a warrior's build. His face was all sharp angles and hard lines, as if carved from the mountain stone itself. Dark hair fell to his shoulders, and those amber eyes, wolf eyes that hadn't fully receded, fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin flush despite the cold. "No one just passes through Blackthorn territory," he said, his voice a low rumble that Emma felt in her bones. Especially not a lone wolf reeking of smoke and fear. Blackthorn. The name hit her like a punch to the gut. Emma's father had told stories about them, warnings really. They were the ghosts of the north, a pack so isolated and feral that even other shifters gave them a wide berth. And this man before her, with alpha power rolling off him in waves. "I'm Emma Castellano," she said, calling on every ounce of her father's pride to keep her voice steady. "My pack was destroyed. I'm seeking sanctuary." Something flickered in those amber eyes. Surprise, recognition, something darker that made her stomach clench. The other wolves shifted restlessly, a few letting out low whines that spoke of agitation and confusion. "Castellano," he repeated slowly, as if tasting the name, weighing it. Marcus's daughter. The fact that he knew her father's name should have terrified her. Instead, Emma felt that strange pull again, stronger now, like invisible threads drawing her toward this stranger. Her wolf was practically howling, pressing against her skin not in fear but in desperate longing, as if she'd found something she'd been searching for her entire life. It was impossible. It was insane. It felt inevitable. "You're coming with me," the man said, and it wasn't a request. He turned to the other wolves, who remained frozen in their circle, watching with predatory focus. "Stand down. She's not a threat." Several of the wolves shifted into human form, men and women with the same wild edge, the same ancient power simmering beneath their skin. One of them, a woman with silver-streaked hair and scars crossing her face, stepped forward. "Alpha, she carries silver," the woman said, her voice sharp. "And she reeks of Shadowfang. She reeks of survival, Moira." The Alpha corrected, his tone allowing no argument. "Stand down." The woman, Moira, bared her teeth but stepped back, bowing her head in submission. The other pack members followed suit, though Emma could feel their hostility like needles against her skin. The Alpha turned back to her, and Emma fought the urge to step away from the raw power in his gaze. "Who are you?" she asked, though part of her already knew. Only one wolf could command the Blackthorn pack with such absolute authority. "Fenrir," he said, and a dark smile touched his lips. "Though my pack knows me as Declan Blackthorn. And you, Emma Castellano, are either the answer to a very old prophecy or the biggest mistake to ever walk into my territory." "I don't know anything about a prophecy," Emma said, exhaustion making her bold. "I just need somewhere safe to." Her legs gave out. Declan moved with inhuman speed, catching her before she hit the frozen ground. His hands were warm against her arms, and the contact sent electricity racing through her nervous system. Emma's wolf purred, actually purred, and she wanted to die from the embarrassment of it. "When did you last eat?" Declan demanded, his voice sharp. "2 days. Maybe 3. Time had become meaningless in her desperate flight. Declan cursed under his breath, then swept her up into his arms as if she weighed nothing. Emma wanted to protest, to maintain some dignity, but her body betrayed her by relaxing against his chest. He was so warm, and she'd been cold for so long. "The Castellano pack is really gone?" he asked quietly as he started walking, carrying her deeper into Blackthorn territory. "Yes," Emma whispered, her throat tight. "They came in the night. My father, he made me run." "Marcus always was a survivor," Declan said, and there was something strange in his voice. Grief, perhaps, or old anger. "He made sure his daughter would be too." "You knew my father?" "Once. A long time ago." Declan's arms tightened around her fractionally. "Before everything went wrong." Emma wanted to ask what he meant, but darkness was creeping in at the edges of her vision. The adrenaline that had kept her moving for 3 days was finally giving out. She fought against the exhaustion, but Declan's warmth, his scent, pine and smoke and something wild, was pulling her under like a riptide. "Sleep," he commanded, and his alpha voice washed over her like a compulsion. "You're safe now." As consciousness slipped away, Emma heard him say something else, so quietly she might have imagined it. "I've been waiting for you for 20 years." The winter wind cut through the pine forest like a blade, and Emma Castellano had never felt more alone. She'd been running for 3 days, not in her wolf form, but as a human, stumbling through snow-laden trails with nothing but a backpack and the clothes on her back. Behind her, somewhere in the vast wilderness of the Northern Territories, lay the smoldering ruins of everything she'd ever known. The Castellano pack had been small but proud, nestled in a valley where the old ways still mattered. Emma had grown up knowing every face, every story, every secret whispered around the fire. But secrets had a way of becoming weapons, and her father, Alpha Marcus Castellano, had kept the most dangerous secret of all. When the Shadowfang Coalition discovered that he'd been harboring refugees from their territory, they'd come in the night with fire and fury. Emma's father had shoved her toward the forest's edge, his eyes wild with a father's terror. "Run," he'd commanded, using his alpha voice for the first time on his own daughter. "Run and don't look back." She'd obeyed, hating herself for it with every step. Now her legs trembled with exhaustion, her throat raw from the cold air she'd been gulping for miles. The forest had grown denser, the trees older and more twisted, their branches creating a canopy that blocked out most of the dying light. Snow crunched under her boots, and somewhere in the distance, a raven called out, a harsh, mocking sound that made her skin prickle. Emma stopped at the edge of a frozen stream, dropping to her knees to break through the thin ice. The water was so cold it burned, but she cupped her hands and drank anyway, feeling the liquid slide down her throat like shards of glass. Her reflection stared back at her from the broken surface, hollow-eyed, with bruises blooming across her cheekbone and scratches marking her jaw. She looked like something hunted, something broken. Her wolf stirred restlessly inside her, frustrated by their weakness, angry at being denied. Emma had kept her shifted form locked away since fleeing, knowing that a wolf's scent carried farther than human fear. But the effort was draining her, fighting her own nature while fighting to survive. A branch snapped somewhere to her left. Emma's head whipped up, water dripping from her fingers. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she scanned the darkening forest. Nothing moved. The forest had gone silent. No birds, no rustling of small prey, nothing but the whisper of wind through pine needles. That silence was worse than any sound. She stood slowly, her hand moving to the silver knife at her belt, the only weapon she'd managed to grab. Silver-burned shifters, but it was all she had. Her father had pressed it into her hands years ago, making her promise to carry it always. Sometimes the monsters wear familiar faces, he told her. She hadn't understood then. She did now. The scent hit her like a physical force. Wolf, but different from anything she'd encountered. It was wild and primal, carrying notes of ancient forest and something else, something that made her wolf slam against her control with desperate need. Emma staggered, pressing a hand to her chest as her heart rate spiked. "No," she whispered, forcing her wolf back down. Not now, but it was too late. She'd already crossed into territory she didn't recognize, leaving scent markers she couldn't take back. The Shadowfang hunters she might have evaded. This was something else entirely. The wolves came out of the shadows like smoke given form. Emma woke to warmth and the scent of burning wood. For a moment, disoriented and heavy with sleep, she thought she was home. Then memory crashed back. Fire, screaming, her father's desperate face, and she bolted upright with a gasp. "Easy," a voice said from nearby. "You're safe." She was in a cabin, rustic but well-maintained, with log walls and furs covering the floor. A fire crackled in a stone hearth, and through a window, she could see snow falling softly in the darkness. She was on a bed, a real bed, with thick blankets and pillows that smelled like pine and that wild, intoxicating scent she now associated with Declan Blackthorn. The man himself sat in a chair near the fire, watching her with those unsettling amber eyes. He'd changed into different clothes, soft worn jeans, and a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing muscular forearms marked with scars. He looked more human like this, less like the terrifying alpha who'd caught her in the forest, but the power still radiated from him in waves. "How long was I asleep?" Emma asked, her voice rough. 14 hours, Declan replied. "Your body needed it. Moira brought food when she heard you stirring." For the first time, Emma noticed the tray on the bedside table, bread, cheese, dried meat, and a bowl of stew that made her stomach clench with hunger. She reached for it without thinking, then paused, looking at Declan suspiciously. "It's not poisoned," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "If I wanted you dead, there are easier ways." "Comforting," Emma muttered, but she grabbed the bowl and started eating. The stew was rich and hot, and she had to force herself to slow down before she made herself sick. Between bites, she studied Declan, trying to reconcile the terrifying alpha with the man who'd carried her to safety. "You said something about a prophecy," she said finally. Declan was silent for a long moment, staring into the fire. When he spoke, his voice was distant, as if recalling something from a dream. 20 years ago, a seer came to Blackthorn territory. She was dying, running from the same coalition that destroyed your pack. My father gave her sanctuary in her final days. What did she see? She said that two bloodlines, broken and scattered, would one day reunite. That a daughter of Castellano would come to Blackthorn territory lost and alone, and that she would either bring about our salvation or our destruction. Declan's gaze moved from the fire to Emma's face. She said I would know her by the bond, that my wolf would recognize hers before my mind could process why. Emma's hand stilled on the spoon. That's what I felt. In the forest, my wolf knew you. The mating bond, Declan said quietly. Rare, instant, undeniable. It hasn't manifested in the Blackthorn line for 3 generations. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Emma, did your father ever tell you why the Castellano and Blackthorn packs were separated? No, he barely spoke about other packs at all. Because we used to be one pack, Declan said, and the revelation hit Emma like a physical blow. 200 years ago, the Blackthorn Castellano pack was the most powerful in the north. We controlled territory from the coast to the mountains. But my great-great-grandfather and yours had a falling out over pack leadership. The pack split, and both sides swore never to reunite. Emma set down the bowl, her appetite suddenly gone. You're saying we're related? Distantly, yes, but not close enough for the mating bond to be wrong. Declan's expression was carefully neutral. In fact, the seer said the bond would only manifest between the two bloodlines if the time was right for reunification. That's insane, Emma whispered. I don't even know you. No, Declan agreed. But your wolf knows mine. And mine has been restless for 20 years, waiting for something I didn't understand until I caught your scent in my territory. Emma stood abruptly, needing distance, needing to think. She crossed to the window, staring out at the snow-covered forest. Behind her, she heard Declan stand as well, but he didn't approach. I'm not asking you to accept this, he said quietly. I'm not even asking you to stay. But Emma, the Shadowfang Coalition doesn't destroy packs randomly. They're consolidating power, eliminating anyone who might challenge them. The Castellanos are gone. The Blackthorns are isolated and outnumbered. Separately, we're vulnerable. Together, we'd be strong enough to fight back, Emma finished. She turned to face him, seeing the burden of leadership in the tight lines around his eyes, the weight of responsibility in the set of his shoulders. That's what this is really about, isn't it? You need allies, and I'm conveniently packless. Something flashed in Declan's eyes. Hurt, maybe, or anger. I need allies, yes. My pack is dying, Emma. We've had no new births in 5 years, no successful matings in 10. We're too isolated, too insular. We need fresh blood, new connections. But this, he gestured between them. This isn't strategy. This is fate. I don't believe in fate, Emma said. But even as the words left her mouth, she felt the lie in them. Her wolf was pacing inside her, desperate to close the distance between them, to touch him, to claim him. Then believe in survival, Declan said, his voice dropping to that alpha timbre that made her skin flush. Believe in revenge for your fallen pack. Believe in the fact that you're standing here, alive, when you should have died in that forest. Something brought you to my territory, Emma Castellano. Call it prophecy, call it luck, call it whatever you want. But don't pretend it means nothing. Before Emma could respond, a howl split the night air, high, urgent, filled with warning. Declan's head snapped toward the window, his body going rigid. Another howl joined the first, then another, until the forest sang with alarm. What is it? Emma asked, her heart racing. Declan's eyes had gone full wolf, glowing amber in the firelight. When he spoke, his voice was rough with barely contained rage. Shadowfang hunters. They found my territory. He turned to her, and Emma saw the alpha in full force. Dangerous, powerful, protective. They're tracking you. They followed your scent here. The words hit Emma like a blow. She'd brought death to Blackthorn territory, to these people who'd given her shelter. Just like she'd brought death to her own pack by being her father's daughter, by existing. I'll leave, she said immediately. I'll lead them away. No, the word was a command, absolute and non-negotiable. Declan crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, gripping her shoulders. You're Blackthorn now. Pack protects pack. That's not a request, Emma. That's how we survive. I'm not Blackthorn, Emma protested, even as her wolf sang with joy at the claim. Declan's smile was sharp and dangerous. You will be. But first, we have hunters to kill. Marcus took the offered hand, relief evident in his face. I only wish I'd done it sooner, before so many died. We can't change the past, Declan said, but we can build a better future, if you're willing. The Council of Alphas met 3 days later, once the wounded had been stabilized and defenses secured. Marcus Castellano stood before them, ready to face judgment for his role in Victor's coalition. Catherine Ironwood spoke first, her voice hard. You provided intelligence that led to the destruction of at least 3 packs. You helped Victor strategize his conquests. By any measure, you should be executed. I know, Marcus said simply, and I won't resist whatever judgment you decide. However, Elder Kai added, his ancient voice thoughtful, you also turned at a critical moment, risked your life to help us, and preserved part of your pack for future rebuilding. That counts for something. The debate went on for hours. In the end, the judgment was this. Marcus Castellano would be stripped of his alpha status permanently, would serve as advisor to the United Council, but never again lead a pack, and would spend the next 5 years helping rebuild the packs that Victor had destroyed. It was fair, Emma thought. Harsh but fair. Her father accepted it with quiet dignity. The real work began immediately. The 5 allied packs, now 6, with the remnants of Castellano joining, began establishing a true coalition. Not Victor's forced submission, but but a voluntary alliance of free packs working together for mutual protection and prosperity. Emma and Declan became the de facto leaders of this new alliance, with Catherine serving as chief strategist, Lydia managing resources, and the other alphas contributing their unique strengths. It wasn't perfect. There were arguments, disagreements, power struggles, but it was functional. It was democracy instead of dictatorship. 2 months after the battle, Emma stood on a cliff overlooking Blackthorn territory, watching wolves from 6 different packs working together to build new structures, train together, live together. Her father's surviving Castellano wolves had integrated into Blackthorn, bringing new life to a pack that had been dying. Declan joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking?" "That my father was right about one thing," Emma said. "Unity is our strength. Not forced submission, but chosen alliance. Wolves deciding together instead of being controlled by fear." "Your father would be proud of you," Declan said. "My father is proud of me," Emma corrected. "He told me so this morning while arguing with Catherine about defense strategies." Declan laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "He's fitting in surprisingly well, considering." "He's a survivor," Emma said. "It's what he taught me to be. We just had different ideas about what survival meant." She turned in Declan's arms, looking up at his face. The harsh lines had softened over the past months, the weight of solitary alpha leadership replaced by something lighter now that he shared the burden with her and the other alphas. "I love you," Emma said. "I don't think I've said that clearly enough. Not just the bond, not just the prophecy. I love you, Declan Blackthorn." His smile was brilliant. "I love you too, Emma Castellano Blackthorn. My mate, my alpha, my everything." He kissed her as the sun set over their territory, painting the snow gold and pink and purple. Around them, wolves from 6 packs howled in celebration, their voices joining together in harmony. The northern territories were still dangerous. Coalition remnants still existed, threats still lurked, and the future was far from certain. But for the first time in generations, the free packs stood together, not in desperation, but in hope. Emma had been lost in the pack, alone and terrified, running from destruction. But she'd been found by her alpha, by her mate, by a bond that transcended bloodlines and prophecies. She'd been found by a family she chose, by a future she was building with her own hands. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but not the way anyone had expected. 2 bloodlines hadn't just reunited. 6 bloodlines had joined together, creating something new and stronger than any had been alone. As darkness fell and the howling continued, Emma felt her father's presence through the pact bond. He was wounded, diminished, paying the price for his choices. But he was there, part of the new pack, part of the future he'd sacrificed everything to create. "Thank you," she sent through the bond. "For sending me here. For making the hard choices. For loving me enough to let me go. Always," Marcus responded. "Pack protects pack, Emma. That's what I taught you. That's what you've become." Emma smiled, leaning into Declan's warmth, feeling the bonds. Mate bond, pack bonds, bloodline bonds, connecting her to dozens of wolves across the territory. She was no longer alone. She was no longer lost. She was found. She was home. She was exactly where she belonged. And tomorrow, they would face whatever came next, together. The end. The aftermath of battle was always worse than the fighting itself. Emma moved through the clearing in human form, helping tend to the wounded, offering comfort to the dying, organizing supplies and defenses in case coalition reinforcements arrived. They didn't. By nightfall, word had spread across the northern territories. Victor Shadowfang was dead, killed by Declan Blackthorn, and the coalition had fractured into chaos. Packs that had been forced to join were declaring independence. Coalition lieutenants were fighting each other for control. The iron grip Victor had held over the north was breaking apart like ice in spring. Emma found her father near the edge of the clearing, wounded but alive, being tended by Lydia's healers. He looked older than she remembered, worn down by years of compromises and hard choices. "You did it," Marcus said when he saw her. "You united them. You actually did it." "We did it," Emma corrected, sitting beside him. "All of us together. That's what pack means." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I'm sorry, Emma, for all of it. The manipulation, the lies, the fear that made me think I had to control everything to keep you safe." "I know," Emma said softly, "and I forgive you. But Dad, what you did with Victor, helping him destroy other packs, providing intelligence, There's going to be a reckoning for that. Alphas will want justice. I know, Marcus replied. I'm prepared to face whatever judgment comes. But Emma, there's something I need to tell you. The Castellano wolves, the ones who turned during the battle, who helped us, they're not the only survivors. Emma's heart leaped. What do you mean? When Victor attacked our territory, I knew it was coming. I'd seen the pattern, understood his methods. So I sent away everyone I could. The pups, the elderly, the ones who couldn't fight. 27 Castellano wolves are hidden in safe territory, waiting for word that it's safe to return. Emma stared at her father, emotions warring in her chest. You saved them. Despite everything, you saved our pack. I saved what I could, Marcus said. It's not much, but it's a start. If the other alphas will allow it, maybe the Castellano bloodline doesn't have to end with you. It won't end with me, Emma said firmly. But it won't exist separately from Blackthorn either. We're united now. That's not changing. I wouldn't want it to, Marcus said. You and Declan, together, you're what I hoped you'd become. Stronger than I ever was. Declan found them an hour later, his wounds bandaged, his eyes still bright with battle light. He looked at Marcus for a long moment, and Emma held her breath, unsure how her mate would react to the man who'd manipulated them both. Then Declan extended his hand. Thank you for turning when you did. You saved a lot of lives. Emma took a deep breath, feeling something shift inside her. Her father had taught her many things, but Declan had taught her something Marcus never could. That strength wasn't just about survival. It was about what you were willing to fight for. She looked at her father, really looked at him for the first time since he'd appeared. She saw the scars he'd earned protecting their pack, the gray in his hair from years of hard leadership, the love in his eyes that even his betrayal couldn't disguise. And she saw the fear. Marcus Castellano was afraid, not of dying, but of losing his daughter. Every choice he'd made, every manipulation, every sacrifice, had been driven by a father's desperate need to keep his child safe. I understand, Emma said quietly, and Marcus's eyes widened. I understand why you did it. You loved me enough to destroy everything rather than watch me die. That's what fathers do. Emma, Marcus started. But you were wrong. Emma interrupted, her voice growing stronger. You taught me that survival isn't enough. That we have to stand for something, fight for something, be willing to sacrifice for something larger than ourselves. You lived those principles every day of your life. And then, when it mattered most, you abandoned them. Tears were streaming down Emma's face now, but her voice was steady. I love you, Dad. I always will. But I won't follow you into this. I won't trade freedom for safety, won't trade honor for survival. If these are the last words I ever say to you, then let them be these. I am Emma Castellano Blackthorn, alpha female of the United Bloodlines, and I choose to stand with wolves who fight for freedom. Marcus's face crumpled, genuine anguish breaking through his careful control. Emma, please, you'll die here. Let me save you this one last time. I don't need saving, Emma said. I need you to remember who you were before fear made you forget. For a long moment, Marcus simply stared at his daughter. Then, slowly, he looked at Victor. I can't do this. I can't watch my daughter die for a plan I helped create. Victor's expression went cold. You're choosing her over the coalition? Over everything we've built? I'm choosing my daughter over everything, Marcus said simply. The way I should have from the beginning. He shifted, a massive brown wolf, and in one fluid motion, tore the coalition mark from his own shoulder with his teeth. The message was clear. Marcus Castellano was no longer Victor's ally. Victor's face twisted with rage. You've just signed your death warrant, old friend. And hers. He turned to his forces, his alpha voice booming across the clearing. Kill them. Kill them all. Leave no survivors. The coalition forces surged forward as one, a wave of fur and fangs and murderous intent. Emma felt Declan shift beside her, felt the other alphas preparing for battle, felt the knowledge that they were about to be overwhelmed. And then Marcus's voice, carrying across the battlefield with all the power of an alpha who led his pack for 30 years. Castellano wolves. Remember who you are. Remember what we stand for. Remember that we bow to no one. From within Victor's army, wolves faltered. Emma's heart leaped. Some of her father's pack, the ones she'd thought dead, were among Victor's forces. They'd been captured, forced to serve, but they hadn't forgotten. One by one, they turned. Not many, maybe a dozen out of Victor's hundreds, but they turned, breaking formation, attacking their own forced allies, creating chaos in the coalition ranks. Now, Declan roared, and the allied packs surged forward. The battle was immediate and brutal. Emma fought beside Declan, their bond allowing them to move as one entity, protecting each other's backs, anticipating each other's moves. She saw Catherine rip through coalition wolves with savage grace, saw Lydia's healers fighting with unexpected ferocity, saw Elder Kai's ancient power making wolves half his age look clumsy, and she saw her father fighting like a wolf possessed, taking down coalition members with ruthless efficiency. He was making up for his betrayal the only way he knew how, with blood and battle and sacrifice. But Victor's numbers were too great. For every coalition wolf that fell, 2 more took their place. The allied packs were being pushed back, surrounded, overwhelmed. Emma felt Declan take a serious wound, felt his pain through the bond, and rage exploded through her. She shifted into her wolf, larger and stronger than she'd ever been, and threw herself into the thick of battle. Something was happening to her. The bond with Declan, the connection to the allied packs, her father's bloodline, all of it was converging, amplifying her power. She could feel every wolf on the battlefield, friend and foe alike, their emotions, their thoughts, their fears and hopes. Unity, a voice whispered in her mind. The seer's prophecy, finally making sense. 2 bloodlines united would be the key, not to military victory, but to something deeper. Emma reached out through the bond, through the pack connections, through the very essence of what made them all wolves. She showed them her father's redemption, showed them the coalition wolves forced to fight against their will, showed them that Victor's power wasn't absolute. Choose, she projected to every wolf who could hear her. You all have a choice. Fight for freedom or die for fear. But know this, we are pack. All of us. And pack protects pack. The effect was immediate and stunning. Coalition wolves began to hesitate, to question, to break formation. Some continued fighting, but others stopped, confused, looking at each other with sudden uncertainty. Victor felt his army fracturing and let out a roar of pure rage. He shifted into his wolf form, massive, black as midnight, radiating dark power, and launched himself directly at Emma. She barely had time to register the attack before Declan was there, intercepting Victor mid-leap. The 2 alphas collided with bone-crushing force, rolling across blood-stained snow in a tangle of fur and teeth. No, Emma's scream, mental and physical, as she watched her mate fight for both their lives. Victor was larger, older, more experienced. But Declan had something Victor didn't. Absolute conviction, a bond that made him more than just one wolf. The knowledge that he was fighting not just for survival, but for the right to choose their own destiny. The battle raged around them, but Emma's entire world had narrowed to the 2 wolves fighting in front of her. She wanted to help, but interfering in an alpha challenge was forbidden, even now. Then Marcus was beside her in wolf form, nudging her, showing her something. Through her enhanced senses, Emma saw what her father had noticed. Victor was powerful, yes, but he was also isolated. His strength came from dominance, from fear, from standing alone at the top of a hierarchy built on oppression. Declan's strength came from connection, to his pack, to Emma, to the bonds that made them all stronger together. Help him, Marcus urged through pack sense. The old laws say you can't interfere in an alpha challenge, but this isn't about laws. This is about pack, and you're his mate, his bond, his strength. Emma understood. She didn't shift back to human, didn't physically join the fight. Instead, she opened the mating bond completely, letting her strength flow into Declan, letting him feel her absolute faith, her unwavering support, her love that had grown from desperation to something real and unshakable. Through Declan's eyes, she saw Victor falter, saw the moment the coalition alpha realized he was fighting not one wolf but 2. An alpha pair, truly bonded, stronger together than either could be alone. Declan's jaws found Victor's throat. One moment of pressure, one calculated strike, and it was over. Victor's Shadowfang fell, and with him, the coalition's hold over the northern packs. Emma couldn't breathe. The world had narrowed to a single point. Her father, alive, standing beside Victor's Shadowfang. Everything she'd believed, everything she'd built her new life on, shattered in an instant. Through the bond, she felt Declan's shock, his confusion, his instant protective fury. His hand gripped her shoulder, anchoring her to reality. "That's not possible," Catherine breathed from beside them. "Marcus Castellano died in the attack. Everyone saw what they were meant to see." Victor's voice carried across the distance, amplified by alpha power. He was tall, handsome in a cruel way, with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. "Marcus Castellano has been my associate for the last 5 years. The destruction of his pack was, shall we say, theater designed to motivate his dear daughter toward her destiny." "No," Emma whispered, but even as she said it, pieces were falling into place. Her father's mysterious absences, his reluctance to discuss other packs, the way he'd known exactly where to send her during the attack. Marcus stepped forward, his face carefully neutral. When he spoke, his voice was the same one that had taught Emma to hunt, to fight, to survive. "Emma, I'm glad you're safe." "Safe?" Emma's voice broke on the word. She pushed past Declan, past Catherine, standing at the edge of the defensive line. "You let me think you were dead. You made me believe our pack was destroyed." "Our pack was destroyed," Marcus said, and for the first time, Emma heard pain in his voice. "Just not the way you thought. The Castellano bloodline was dying, Emma. 12 years without a successful mating, 8 years without a birth. We were withering away, isolated and alone. I did what I had to do to save you, even if it meant sacrificing everything else." "You joined the coalition," Emma said, her voice hollow. "You helped them destroy other packs." "I provided intelligence," Marcus corrected. "Tactical information that minimized bloodshed, that gave packs the option to surrender before violence became necessary. I've saved more lives than I've taken, Emma. All of it to protect you, to position you for this moment." "What moment?" Emma demanded. "What are you talking about?" Victor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, this is delicious. You really haven't figured it out, little alpha?" He gestured to Emma, then to Declan. "The prophecy your father fed you, the convenient mating bond, the dramatic rescue by Blackthorn's alpha, it was all orchestrated. Marcus and I planned every step." Emma felt Declan stiffen behind her. Through the bond, she felt his confusion, his anger, but also, horrifyingly, a spark of doubt. "The seer wasn't lying," Victor continued, clearly enjoying himself. "The prophecy was real. 2 bloodlines would reunite, and their union would either save or destroy the northern packs. But what the seer didn't know was that Marcus and I would use that prophecy for our own purposes." He gestured to the forces surrounding them. "I needed the independent packs brought to heel, united under strong leadership. Marcus needed his daughter protected and positioned where she could survive the coming consolidation. Together, we engineered a scenario where Emma would flee to Blackthorn, bond with Declan, and unite the old bloodlines." "Why?" Emma asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Because united bloodlines mean legitimacy," Marcus said, taking over the explanation. "Victor plans to create a new order in the north, all packs under coalition authority, but with traditional bloodlines in leadership positions. You and Declan, as alpha pair of the reunited Blackthorn Castellano pack, would have been his lieutenants. You'd have real power, Emma, protected status, everything I couldn't give you, except freedom," Declan growled, stepping up beside Emma. "Except the right to choose our own path." "Freedom is an illusion," Victor said dismissively. "The old ways are dying, Blackthorn. Independence is weakness. What I'm offering is strength, order, survival. Your little alliance," he gestured to the gathered packs, "is touching, truly. But it's also pointless. You have 125 wolves. I have 300, with more arriving daily. This isn't a negotiation. This is me offering you one last chance to submit before I destroy every pack standing in this clearing." A terrible silence fell. Emma felt the weight of those numbers, felt the other alphas' fear through their pack bonds, felt the crushing realization that maybe Victor was right. Maybe resistance was pointless. Then, through the bond, she felt something else from Declan. Not fear, not doubt, but absolute, unshakable conviction. "He's lying," Declan's voice in her mind. "Look at his wolves. Really look." Emma did, and slowly she began to see what Declan had noticed. Victor's forces weren't the unified army they appeared to be. She could see tension between groups, could smell different pack scents, could sense the fragile cohesion of an alliance held together by fear rather than loyalty. Victor doesn't have 300 loyal wolves, Emma thought back. He has 300 wolves who are too afraid to refuse him. Exactly. And fear bonds break under pressure. Then she turned to Emma. Emma Castellano Blackthorn. You called this gathering. You claim to have a path forward. The floor is yours. Emma stood, feeling every eye in the clearing on her. Her wolf surged beneath her skin, lending her confidence, and through the bond, she felt Declan's absolute faith in her. She began by telling her story, the destruction of the Castellano pack, her flight to Blackthorn territory, the prophecy that had reunited two bloodlines. She spoke of her father's sacrifice, his belief that unity was the only path to survival. But this isn't about prophecy, Emma said, her voice carrying across the clearing. This is about choice. Victor Shadowfang has been making choices for us. Which packs live, which die, who submits, who fights. He's taken our autonomy and called it order. He's destroyed our traditions and called it progress. He wants us to believe that his way is the only way, that resistance is futile. She paused, meeting the eyes of each alpha in turn. I'm here to tell you that's a lie. We have a choice. We can stand together, fight together, reclaim our freedom together. Yes, the odds are against us. Yes, some of us will die. But if we submit, we die anyway. Slowly, quietly, losing everything that makes us wolves. Pretty speech, Alexander Stormcrest growled. But words don't win wars. You're asking us to throw our packs into a meat grinder based on hope and prophecy. No, Emma replied. I'm asking you to fight based on mathematics. Separately, we're weak. Victor destroys packs one at a time because he can. But together, we're 140 wolves with everything to lose and nothing left to fear. Together, we become too expensive to destroy. Together, we force Victor to negotiate rather than dominate. And if he refuses to negotiate, Lydia Unveiled asked quietly, then we make him pay so dearly for every inch of territory that the coalition fractures from within, Emma said. Victor's power comes from fear and momentum. We break both by proving that resistance is possible. The alphas exchanged glances, silent communication passing between them. Emma held her breath, feeling Declan's tension through the bond. Elder Kai stood slowly, his ancient frame somehow still radiating authority. I have a question for you, young Castellano. Your father was known as a pragmatist, a survivor. What would he say about this plan? Emma smiled sadly. He'd probably say I was being reckless and idealistic. And then he'd stand beside me anyway, because that's what pack means. We don't abandon each other, even when the odds are impossible. Your father was my friend, Kai said softly. He saved my pack during the famine of '98, shared his territory when we had none. I owe the Castellano bloodline a debt. He turned to the other alphas. I stand with Emma. Riversong chooses alliance. One vote. Emma's heart leaped. Helena Thornridge stood next. Thornridge has been running for 2 years, always one step ahead of Victor's forces. I'm tired of running. I vote for alliance. 2. Lydia Unveiled rose, her expression troubled. My pack are healers, not warriors. But we've seen what submission looks like. Wolves stripped of their identity, forced to follow Victor's command. We didn't survive for 3 generations to surrender now. Unveiled chooses alliance. 3. Marcus Ashwood remains seated, his face hard. This is insanity. We're signing our own death warrants. Perhaps, Alexander Stormcrest rumbled, standing with surprising grace for such a massive man. But better to die free than live as Victor's pet. Stormcrest chooses alliance. 4 out of 6. Emma's pulse raced. They needed at least 5 for a true coalition. Catherine Ironwood stood, and silence fell. I called this gathering because I needed to know I wasn't leading my pack to pointless death. Now I've heard you all, seen your courage, witnessed your willingness to stand together. She looked directly at Emma. Your father would be proud of the alpha you've become. Ironwood chooses alliance. 5. They had 5 packs. All eyes turned to Marcus Ashwood, the lone holdout. He sat in silence for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly he shook his head. I can't, he said. I can't ask my pack to die for a cause we might not win. Ashwood abstains from alliance. But, he added as protests began, we won't stand with Victor either. We'll remain neutral, withdraw to our territory, and wait to see how this plays out. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't complete failure either. Emma released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Then we have our answer, Catherine said. 5 packs, 125 wolves. united against the Shadowfang Coalition. The question now is, a howl split the air, sharp, urgent, filled with alarm. Then another, and another, as border guards sent warning after warning. "They're here," Declan said, already moving. Victor's forces, they're surrounding the territory. The peaceful gathering erupted into controlled chaos. Alphas barked orders, packs moved into defensive formations, weapons appeared from hidden caches. Emma raced alongside Declan to the nearest vantage point and felt her heart sink. Victor hadn't sent 50 wolves. He'd sent at least 100, maybe more, surrounding Ironwood territory in a circle of fur and teeth and glowing eyes. It was a show of force designed to terrify, to demonstrate the futility of resistance. And walking at the center of the army, shifting from an enormous black wolf into a man who radiated dark power, was Victor Shadowfang himself. But it was the figure beside him that made Emma's blood freeze. Tall, scarred, with gray hair and eyes she'd seen in mirrors her entire life. Marcus Castellano, her father, alive, and wearing the Coalition's mark on his shoulder. The 3 weeks in Ironwood territory passed in a blur of preparation and tension. Emma worked alongside Catherine's strategists, planning the gathering, determining which packs to contact and how. Declan drilled with Ironwood warriors, sharing Blackthorn tactical knowledge and learning Ironwood techniques in return. Slowly, grudgingly, the two packs began to function as one unit. But Emma felt the clock ticking with every passing day. Victor's deadline loomed like a guillotine, and there was no guarantee the other alphas would even show up, let alone agree to alliance. 5 days before the gathering, a scout returned with news that made Emma's blood run cold. The Shadowfang Coalition was moving. A force of at least 50 wolves was heading toward Ironwood territory, arriving right at Victor's deadline. "He's not waiting for my answer," Catherine said grimly as they studied scout reports. "He's coming to deliver it personally. Then we move up the gathering," Emma said. "Contact the other alphas now. Tell them if they want to remain free, they need to be here in 2 days." 2 days isn't enough time, Catherine started. "It has to be," Emma interrupted. "Because in 3 days, there might not be an Ironwood pack left to ally with." Messengers were sent that night, the fastest runners, carrying word to the 5 remaining free packs: Stormcrest, Unveiled, Ashwood, Riversong, and Thornridge. The message was simple: come to Ironwood territory in 2 days, or lose your chance at freedom forever. Then they prepared for war. Emma had never seen 2 packs integrate so quickly. Blackthorn and Ironwood wolves worked side by side, building defenses, establishing supply lines, creating contingency plans. Through the bond, Emma felt Declan's pride in her leadership, her ability to see the larger strategic picture. But she also felt his fear. If this failed, if the other alphas didn't come or chose submission, they'd be facing Victor's full force with only 70 wolves. On the morning of the gathering, Emma woke before dawn, unable to sleep. She stood at the window of the guest cabin, watching snow fall steadily over Ironwood territory, and felt the weight of everything her father had hoped for resting on her shoulders. Declan's arms wrapped around her from behind. Nervous, terrified, Emma admitted. "What if they don't come? What if they do come, but vote for submission?" "Then we fight anyway," Declan said simply. "You, me, Blackthorn, Ironwood. We make our stand regardless." "That's not strategy, that's suicide." "Maybe," Declan agreed. "But sometimes surviving isn't enough. Sometimes you have to stand for something, even if it costs everything." Emma turned in his arms, looking up at his face in the pre-dawn darkness. "When did you become such a philosopher?" "When I mated a woman who makes me want to be worthy of her," Declan replied, kissing her softly. The moment was shattered by a howl from the border, the signal that guests were arriving. The gathering was held in a massive clearing at the heart of Ironwood territory, large enough to accommodate hundreds of wolves. Catherine had set up a council circle, 6 positions for the 6 free alphas, with their packs arranged behind them. As dawn broke, the alphas began to arrive. First came Alexander Stormcrest, a massive gray wolf who shifted into an equally massive man with stormcloud eyes. His pack numbered 25, and they looked like warriors born. Next was Lydia Moonveil, petite but radiating power, with a pack of 30 wolves that included several skilled healers. Then Marcus Ashwood, no relation to Emma's father, arrived with 15 wolves, lean and hungry looking. Riversong was represented by Elder Kai, an ancient alpha who'd led his pack for 40 years, bringing 20 wolves who looked more spiritual than martial. Finally, just as Emma was beginning to give up hope, Helena Thornridge arrived with her pack of 18, apologizing for the delay. They'd had to evade a Shadowfang patrol. 6 alphas, 6 free packs, approximately 140 wolves total, gathered in defiance of Victor's coalition. It was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Catherine called the council to order, explaining the situation with brutal honesty. She laid out Victor's ultimatum, the pattern of pack destruction, the choice facing every alpha: submit, hide, or fight. Ironwood territory was beautiful, all old-growth forest and crystal-clear streams, with mountains rising in the distance like sentinels. But Emma could see the signs of stress everywhere. The pack they passed looked thin, wary, weapons never far from reach. Children were kept close to their parents, and defensive positions were built into every clearing they crossed. This was a pack preparing for war. Catherine led them to a massive lodge built into the side of a cliff, its entrance flanked by ancient pine trees. Inside, a fire roared in a hearth carved from living rock. Pack members filled the space. Catherine's senior counsel, Emma realized, all watching the Blackthorn delegation with suspicion. "Speak," Catherine commanded, settling into a chair that was clearly her alpha's seat. "Tell me why I should risk my pack's survival for an alliance with wolves I haven't spoken to in 20 years. Declan began, laying out the strategic situation with military precision. He spoke of Victor's pattern of conquest, the isolation of remaining packs, the inevitable reality that Ironwood would face the same fate as Raven's Cross and the Castellanos unless something changed. Catherine listened without interruption, her expression unreadable. When Declan finished, she was silent for a long moment. "Everything you've said, I already know," she finally replied. "Victor has sent representatives. They've made their position clear. Submit to coalition authority or be destroyed. They've given me until the next full moon to decide." She leaned forward, her icy eyes sharp. "That's 3 weeks, Blackthorn. In 3 weeks, I either bow to Victor or watch my pack burn. Tell me why alliance with you changes that calculation." Emma stood before Declan could respond. "Because Victor wants you to think you're alone. He wants every pack isolated, terrified, making the same calculation you're making right now. But you're not alone, Alpha Catherine. There are 5 free packs left in the north besides Blackthorn and Ironwood. 5 alphas making the same choice you're facing. 5 packs against Victor's coalition of 30. One of Catherine's council members scoffed. "Those aren't odds, that's suicide." "It's survival," Emma countered. "Because if we submit separately, we lose everything that makes us wolves. Our autonomy, our traditions, our very identities become tools for Victor's ambition. But together we're still outnumbered," Catherine interrupted. "Numbers matter, Castellano. Your father knew that. It's why he kept your pack small and hidden, why he survived as long as he did. And eventually, isolation killed him," Emma said, her voice cracking slightly. "My father was a great alpha, but he was wrong about this. We can't hide from Victor. We can't surrender to him. The only option left is to fight, and the only way to win is together." Catherine stood, approaching Emma with slow, deliberate steps. She was taller, older, infinitely more experienced, and Emma had to fight the urge to step back, to submit to the superior alpha. "Your father told me something once," Catherine said quietly, studying Emma's face. "He said that pride would be either his greatest strength or his greatest weakness, and he'd never know which until it was too late." She touched Emma's cheek, a surprisingly gentle gesture. "You have his eyes, his fire, but do you have his wisdom?" "I'm learning," Emma admitted. "But I know this. My father sent me to Blackthorn territory for a reason. He believed that our bloodlines, reunited, could stand against Victor. He believed it enough to sacrifice everything." "Marcus was a dreamer," Catherine said, but there was no mockery in her voice. "He always believed in grand destinies, prophetic visions, fate stepping in to save us at the last moment." "And you don't?" Emma asked. "I believe in teeth and claws and wolves who fight for their survival," Catherine replied. She turned back to her counsel. "But I also believe that Victor Shadowfang needs to be stopped. The question is whether an alliance gives us better odds than submission." "It doesn't," one of the council members said, an older male with gray fur even in human form. "The coalition is too strong. we'd be signing our death warrant. We're already dead. Moira spoke up from behind Emma, her scarred face fierce. We're just choosing how we die? Submission means slow death, the extinction of everything that makes us free. Alliance means we die fighting, but at least we die as wolves. Easy to say when you're not responsible for 30 souls. The council member snapped. The argument erupted, voices rising, positions entrenching. Emma watched Catherine's expression, seeing the Alpha's internal struggle. She was being practical, weighing odds, considering the safest path for her pack. Emma understood that it was what any good leader would do, but sometimes the safe path was just slower death. Through the bond, Emma felt Declan's tension, his frustration with diplomatic niceties when action was needed. She reached back, touching his hand, sending calm and patience through their connection. They couldn't force this. Catherine had to choose. Finally, the Ironwood Alpha raised her hand, and silence fell instantly. 3 weeks, Catherine said. That's all the time we have before Victor's deadline. I won't make this decision alone. It affects every member of my pack. Here's my proposal. Blackthorn stays as guests in Ironwood territory. In 3 weeks, I'll call a gathering. All 5 remaining free packs. We'll hear your pitch for alliance, Emma Castellano, and then each alpha will decide for themselves. A council, Emma breathed. Like the old days. Like the old days, Catherine agreed. But understand, if the other alphas reject alliance, if they choose submission or continued isolation, I won't stand alone. My pack's survival comes first. That's all we're asking for, Declan said. A chance to make our case. Catherine nodded slowly. Then you have 3 weeks to convince 5 alphas that your prophecy is worth dying for. Better start planning a hell of a speech. They left at dawn, a delegation of 12 wolves moving through the snow-covered forest with practiced silence. Declan and Emma traveled at the center, flanked by Moira and Garrett, with scouts ranging ahead and behind. They moved in human form to conserve energy, but Emma could feel every pack member's wolf hovering just beneath the surface, ready to emerge at the first sign of danger. The journey to Ironwood territory would take 3 days if the weather held. They traveled quickly but carefully, avoiding established trails where Shadowfang patrols might be watching. Declan navigated with the confidence of someone who'd memorized every inch of Northern Territory, choosing routes that kept them hidden in deep forest and narrow valleys. On the first night, they made camp in a sheltered ravine, building a small fire and posting guards in shifts. Emma sat beside Declan, sharing dried meat and hard bread while the rest of the pack settled in for the night. Tell me about Catherine Ironwood, Emma said. What's she like? Strong, Declan replied. Stubborn. Her pack is smaller than ours, maybe 30 wolves, but they're fierce fighters. Catherine's been alpha for 15 years, since her father died in a border dispute with a human logging company. She doesn't trust easily. Did she know my father well? Well enough. Marcus helped mediate the logging dispute, prevented all-out war between Ironwood and the humans. Catherine respected him, even if she didn't always agree with his methods. Declan's expression was troubled. But Emma, that was 20 years ago. A lot has changed. The Coalition's reach is longer now, their threats more immediate. Catherine might decide that alliance with us is more dangerous than surrender to Victor. Then we convince her otherwise, Emma said with more confidence than she felt. The second day brought complications. Scout reports indicated Shadowfang activity ahead, a patrol of at least 8 wolves moving through the mountain pass they planned to use. Garrett and Moira advocated for a direct confrontation, but Declan chose the cautious route, leading them on a longer path that added half a day to their journey. We can't arrive at Ironwood looking like we're already losing, he explained when Garrett protested. Catherine needs to see strength, not desperation. But the detour brought them dangerously close to what Emma recognized as Raveness Cross territory, or what used to be Raveness Cross. They discovered the destroyed pack settlement on the afternoon of the second day. It was worse than Emma's own pack. The Coalition had burned everything, left bodies in the snow as warnings. Emma counted 34 dead wolves, including pups and elders. The attack had been recent, maybe a week ago, and so thorough that nothing remained but ash and blood. Victor's getting bolder, Moira said, her voice tight with rage. He's not even pretending these are defensive actions anymore. Emma knelt beside a small body, a pup, no more than 5 years old. Her throat closed, tears burning her eyes. This could have been any child from her pack, could have been her at that age. "We bury them," she said, looking up at Declan. "I know we're pressed for time, but we can't leave them like this." Declan's expression was grim, but he nodded. "Quickly, we're exposed here." The pack worked in silent efficiency, giving the Raven's Cross wolves what dignity they could. Emma helped dig graves in the frozen ground, her hands blistering, her back aching. Through the bond, she felt Declan's approval, his growing respect for her refusal to look away from the cost of Victor's ambition. When they finished, Garrett marked each grave with stones arranged in traditional pack symbols. Emma stood before the small mound that held the pup, her voice carrying across the destroyed settlement as she spoke the old rites. "May you run forever in the great forest beyond. May your spirit find the pack that waits for all wolves. May you never be forgotten." The Blackthorn wolves joined her in the final howl, a sound of mourning and fury that echoed through the mountains. Somewhere in the distance, another howl answered, then another, as if unseen wolves were acknowledging the fallen. They traveled through the night after that, no longer caring about concealment. Emma felt the rage building in her chest, matching the fury radiating from every pack member through their bonds. This was what Victor's order looked like. This was the future for every pack that refused to submit. On the morning of the third day, exhausted and grim, they crossed into Ironwood territory. The border was better defended than Emma had expected. They'd barely set foot past the territorial markers when wolves emerged from the trees. 20 at least, all in combat formation, all watching the Blackthorn delegation with hostile eyes. A woman stepped forward, shifting from wolf to human in one fluid motion. She was tall and lean, with iron-gray hair braided down her back and a face marked by old scars. Her eyes were the color of glacial ice, and they fixed on Declan with calculating intensity. "Declan Blackthorn," she said, her voice carrying across the distance. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid to come here." "Catherine," Declan replied with a slight nod of respect. "I'm hoping for brave, but I'll accept stupid if it gets us a conversation." Catherine's lips twitched, almost smiling. Then her gaze shifted to Emma, and something flickered in her expression, recognition, perhaps, or surprise. "Marcus's daughter," she said softly. "I heard the Castellanos had fallen. I didn't know any had survived." "Emma Castellano," Emma said, stepping forward despite Garrett's warning growl. "Now Emma Blackthorn. I came to ask for your help, Alpha Catherine. Not just for my pack, but for all of us." Catherine studied her for a long moment, and Emma felt the weight of that ancient gaze, the assessment of an alpha who'd survived longer than most. Finally, Catherine nodded once. "My territory. My rules. You follow them, or you die." "Understood. Understood," Declan agreed. "Then come," Catherine said, turning and walking deeper into her territory. "Let's see if what you're selling is worth the price of listening." "Then we prove we're real," Emma countered. "We show them that resistance is possible, that together, we're stronger than Victor's coalition." Garrett nodded slowly. "It could work. If we could get even 3 or 4 packs to stand with us, the balance of power shifts." "It's also incredibly dangerous," Declan said, but Emma could see the strategic mind working behind his eyes. "We'd have to send delegations into uncertain territory, negotiate with alphas who might see an opportunity to curry favor with Victor by handing us over." "I'll go," Emma said immediately. "I'm Castellano. Some of these alphas knew my father. They might listen to me where they wouldn't listen to Blackthorn alone." "Absolutely not," Declan said, his alpha voice emerging. "You're too important, too vulnerable. If something happened to you, if something happened to me, the bond would tell you instantly, and you could respond." Emma interrupted, meeting his glare with her own stubborn determination. "Declan, this is why my father sent me here. Not just to survive, but to unite the packs. To finish what he and your father started before pride destroyed it all." The room fell silent as the two alphas faced each other. Emma could feel Declan through the bond, his fear for her safety, his frustration at the risk, but also his pride in her courage, his knowledge that she was right. Finally, Declan sighed. "You don't go alone. You take Moira, Garrett, and a full security detail. And I'm coming with you. You can't leave the territory undefended," Emma protested. "I can and I will," Declan said firmly. "We're alpha pair now, Emma. Where you go, I go. That's not negotiable." Emma wanted to argue, but the bond pulsed with his absolute certainty. Instead, she nodded. Fine, but we leave tomorrow. Every day we wait, Victor gets stronger. Agreed, Declan said. He turned to the other pack members. Garrett, prepare a delegation. We'll start with the Ironwood pack, their closest and their alpha, Catherine, New Marcus. If we can bring them into alliance, it'll encourage others to follow. The room erupted into activity as pack members dispersed to prepare. Emma remained at the map, tracing the route they'd take with one finger. Ironwood territory was 3 days hard travel to the northwest, through mountain passes that would be treacherous in winter. Declan came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. You're sure about this? No, Emma admitted. I'm terrified, but I'm more terrified of doing nothing and watching another pack burn. Your father would be proud of you, Declan said softly. Emma leaned back against him, drawing strength from his presence. I hope so, because I'm about to bet all our lives on his legacy. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of their cabin, watching snow fall steadily over Blackthorn territory. Through the bond, she could feel Declan's sleeping presence, his dreams, his unconscious worries, his deep protective love for his pack. She'd been Blackthorn for 3 weeks, but sometimes it still felt like she was wearing someone else's skin. The pack accepted her because Declan did, because the bond marked her as alpha female, but she could sense some still questioned whether she was worth the risk her presence brought. A soft knock made her turn. Moira stood in the doorway, wrapped in a heavy cloak. Can't sleep either? The scarred woman asked. Too much to think about, Emma admitted. Moira joined her at the window, silent for a moment. Then, I didn't trust you when you first arrived. Thought you'd bring nothing but trouble. I did bring trouble, Emma pointed out. Yes, Moira agreed with a slight smile. But you also brought hope. The pack was dying, Emma, not just from isolation, but from loss of purpose. We'd been defending, retreating, surviving for so long we'd forgotten what it meant to fight for something. You reminded us. I'm not a hero, Emma said quietly. I'm just trying to survive. Heroes rarely think they're heroes, Moira replied. They're just people who do what needs to be done, even when they're terrified. Especially when they're terrified. She placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. Tomorrow we ride into danger. Some of us might not come back. But for the first time in 20 years, I feel like we're fighting for something that matters. After Moira left, Emma returned to bed, curling against Declan's warm body. He stirred, instinctively pulling her closer. Emma, his voice was sleep-rough. What's wrong? Nothing, she whispered. Just thank you for believing in me. Always, he murmured, already drifting back to sleep. My mate, my alpha, my everything. Emma closed her eyes, feeling the bond pulse between them like a second heartbeat. Tomorrow they'd ride into uncertainty, face potential death, gamble everything on a fragile hope of alliance. But tonight, she was safe. She was home. She was loved, and that was worth fighting for. 3 weeks passed in what felt like both a heartbeat and an eternity. Emma threw herself into pack life with single-minded determination, training with the warriors, learning Blackthorn territory, understanding the delicate balance of pack politics. Declan was beside her every step, teaching her, supporting her, falling deeper into their bond with each passing day. But peace was an illusion, and Emma knew it. The scouts reported increased Shadowfang activity along the borders. They were probing, testing, looking for weaknesses. The hunters who'd fled had apparently delivered Declan's message, and the Coalition's response was to send more wolves, better equipped, more cautious. Emma stood in the war room, a converted section of the main lodge, studying the map of northern territories that covered an entire wall. Red markers showed Shadowfang sightings, blue marked Blackthorn patrol routes, and a sickening amount of black X's marked fallen packs. They've destroyed 12 packs in the last 3 years, Moira said from beside her. The Castellanos were just the latest. At this rate, by next winter, the only free pack left will be Blackthorn. Why? Emma asked. What does the Coalition want? Territory? Power? Control? Declan answered, entering the room with Garrett and several other senior pack members. The Coalition's alpha, Victor Shadowfang, believes in absolute dominion. He thinks the old ways of independent packs are chaos, weakness. He wants every shifter in the north under his command. One pack to rule them all, Emma murmured darkly. That's insane. The whole point of pack structure is autonomy, independence. Take that away, and we're just an army, Garrett finished grimly. Which is exactly what Victor wants. Rumor is he's making deals with humans, corrupt politicians, weapons dealers, criminal organizations. He's building something bigger than just pack politics. Emma felt ice forming in her stomach. If he controls all the shifter packs in the north, he could leverage that power into human politics. He could start a war, Declan said quietly. Human against shifter, with Victor positioning himself as the only one who can control our kind. He'd become indispensable, untouchable, and any pack that refused to submit gets wiped out, Emma finished. Like the Castellanos. A heavy silence fell over the room. Emma stared at the map, seeing the pattern she'd missed before. The destroyed packs weren't random. They formed a circle around Blackthorn territory. Victor was isolating them, cutting off potential allies, ensuring that when he finally struck, Blackthorn would stand alone. We need to stop reacting and start acting, Emma said suddenly. Victor expects us to hole up here, defend our borders, wait for his attack. We need to do the opposite. Declan's eye sharpened. What are you thinking? The other packs? Emma said, pointing to territories on the map that weren't marked as destroyed. The ones that haven't fallen yet. They're isolated like we are, afraid, probably planning to surrender rather than fight. What if we reached out to them? Offered alliance? They won't trust us, Moira objected. Blackthorn has been isolated for 20 years. Some of those packs probably think we're myths. The mating ceremony was simple compared to what Emma had imagined. The Blackthorn pack gathered in the lodge, forming a circle around Emma and Declan. Moira stood as witness, her scarred face solemn. Other pack members watched with expressions ranging from approval to cautious optimism. A few looked openly skeptical, but they kept their objections silent. An elder woman stepped forward, ancient and small but radiating power. This was Grandmother Thane, Declan had explained, the pack's oldest member and keeper of traditions. She carried a silver bowl filled with something that glowed faintly in the firelight. Two bloodlines, once united, then broken, she intoned, her voice surprisingly strong. Tonight, they reunite through sacred bond. Tonight, Blackthorn and Castellano become one. She dipped her fingers in the bowl and drew symbols on Declan's forehead. Pack marks, Emma realized, sacred runes passed down through generations. Then she turned to Emma, her ancient eyes searching. Are you certain, child? She asked softly. The mating bond cannot be broken except by death. Once sealed, your life and his become intertwined. His pain becomes yours. His death would drive you to madness. I'm certain, Emma said, surprised by how steady her voice was. Grandmother Thane studied her a moment longer, then nodded. She drew the same symbols on Emma's forehead, and where the substance touched, Emma felt warmth spreading through her skull, down her spine, cooling in her chest where her heart hammered. Blood calls to blood, the elder said. Soul calls to soul. Declan took Emma's hand, and even that simple contact sent electricity racing through her nervous system. Their eyes met, and Emma could see her own nervousness reflected in his amber gaze. Despite his confidence, despite his alpha power, he was as uncertain as she was. Somehow that made it easier. I, Declan Blackthorn, alpha of the Northern Pack, take Emma Castellano as my mate, he said, the formal words carrying power. I bind my life to hers, my pack to her protection, my strength to her need. In this life and beyond, we are one. Emma's turn. She took a breath, feeling the weight of every eye in the room, feeling the expectation, the hope, the fear that she would fail them all. I, Emma Castellano, last daughter of the Southern Pack, take Declan Blackthorn as my mate, she said, and with each word, something inside her clicked into place. I bind my life to his, my loyalty to his pack, my strength to our future. In this life and beyond, we are one. Grandmother Thane raised the silver bowl above their joined hands. What was broken is made whole. What was lost is found. By blood and moon and sacred oath, I seal this bond. She poured the contents over their hands. The liquid was warm, viscous, glowing with an otherworldly light. Where it touched, Emma felt the bond surge, not just between her and Declan, but extending outward to every wolf in the circle. She could feel them, sense their emotions, their thoughts hovering at the edges of her consciousness. This was Pack, true Pack, not the isolated family she'd grown up with, but something larger, older, more powerful than she'd imagined possible. And at the center of it all was Declan, blazing like a star. She could feel his strength, his determination, his bone-deep need to protect. But she could also feel his fear. Fear that he wasn't enough, that he would fail his pack the way his father had, that Emma would come to regret this choice. Never, she thought, and felt him react to the word even though she hadn't spoken aloud. The bond. They were connected now in ways that went beyond physical touch. Emma, his voice in her mind, wondering, awed. I'm here, she thought back. I'm not going anywhere. The circle of pack members began to howl, a sound of celebration and acceptance. Emma felt their joy washing over her through the bond, felt herself welcomed into their collective consciousness. She was pack now. She was Blackthorn, but she was still Castellano too. In her chest, she felt the memory of her father, her lost pack, the bloodline that ended with her. Except it didn't end. It transformed, merged, became something new. Declan pulled her closer, and Emma went willingly, burying her face in his chest. His arms wrapped around her, strong and protective, and she felt safe for the first time since the night fire had consumed her home. Thank you, Declan murmured into her hair. For trusting me, for taking this chance. Thank you for giving me a home, Emma replied. The celebration continued around them. Pack members shifting into wolf form to race through the forest, others breaking out drums and instruments, some simply embracing each other with the relief of having survived another battle. Moira approached with a rare smile, offering Emma a drink of something potent that burned going down. Welcome to the pack, alpha female, Moira said. Try not to get us all killed. I'll do my best, Emma replied with a shaky laugh. As the night wore on, Emma found herself relaxing into the celebration. Pack members approached to introduce themselves properly. Warriors like Moira, healers who tended the wounded, elders who remembered the old days before the split, young wolves who looked at her with hope and curiosity. She was learning names, faces, stories. Garrett, the massive warrior who'd fought beside Declan in the battle. Sophia, the healer who'd treated Emma's shoulder. Young twins, Ash and Ember, who couldn't have been more than 16 but fought with the ferocity of veterans. These were her people now, her responsibility, her family. Hours later, when the celebration finally wound down and pack members began drifting back to their homes, Declan took Emma's hand and led her away from the lodge. They walked through the snow-covered forest, silent except for the crunch of snow beneath their boots and the distant sound of wolves singing to the moon. They arrived at a smaller cabin, Declan's personal residence, Emma realized. Inside, it was warm and simply furnished, with personal touches that spoke of the man behind the alpha mask. Books lined shelves, maps covered one wall, and photographs showed Blackthorn wolves through the years. This is your home now too, Declan said, suddenly looking uncertain. If you want it to be. I know traditional mating bonds involve, but we don't have to rush anything. We can take time to. Emma silenced him with a kiss. It was softer than their first, less desperate, but no less intense. She felt the bond hum between them, felt his surprise, and then his fierce joy. I choose this, she said when they broke apart. I choose you. No more hesitation, Declan. We don't have time for it. His amber eyes searched hers. The Shadowfang Coalition will come back. You know that, right? This isn't over. I know, Emma said. But next time, they'll face a united pack. Not Blackthorn alone. Not Castellano alone. Both bloodlines, together, like we were always meant to be. Declan's smile was fierce and proud. My warrior mate. Your warrior mate, Emma agreed. He kissed her again, and this time, Emma let herself fall into it. Let the bond pull them together. Let herself believe in prophecies and fate and second chances. Outside, wolves howled in celebration, and somewhere in the forest, Emma felt her father's spirit finally at rest. She was found. She was home. She was exactly where she belonged. Mate, Emma whispered, opening her eyes. She says you're our mate. And your human side? Declan asked softly. What does she say? Emma looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the strength in his face. Yes, but also the kindness. She saw the alpha who'd protected her without question, who'd risked his pack to defend a stranger. She saw the man who'd known her father, who'd tried for years to reunite their bloodlines, who'd been waiting for 20 years because a dying seer had told him to have faith. She saw someone worth trusting. She says, Emma's voice was barely a whisper. She says she's terrified, but she's willing to try. Declan's smile was slow and warm. transforming his severe features into something beautiful. That's all I ask. A chance. He cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the calluses from years of fighting. Emma Castellano, daughter of Marcus, last of your bloodline. I claim you as my mate, my equal, my alpha's bond. Will you accept? The formal words hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning. Emma knew that if she said yes, everything would change. She would become Blackthorn, would take on their history, their enemies, their future. She would be bound to Declan in a way that transcended human marriage, would share his thoughts, his emotions, his very soul. It was insane. It was too fast. It went against every logical thought in her head. But her heart, her wolf, every instinct she possessed was screaming yes. I accept, Emma said, and the bond between them flared to life like a supernova. They reconvened at the main lodge, a massive log structure at the heart of Blackthorn territory. Wounded were being tended by pack healers, guards posted at every entrance, weapons cleaned and stored. The mood was celebratory but cautious. They'd won the battle, but not the war. Emma sat in front of the lodge's enormous fireplace, a blanket around her shoulders despite not feeling cold. Her shoulder where the bullet had grazed burned, but it was already healing, her shifter metabolism knitting flesh and skin. Across from her, Declan poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a bottle that looked older than Emma's grandmother. Drink, he said, handing her a glass. Trust me, you'll need it. Emma took the glass but didn't drink, watching as Declan settled into the chair opposite her. The firelight played across his features, highlighting the sharp angles of his face, the weariness in his eyes. He looked like a man carrying the weight of the world. My father, Emma said quietly. You said you knew him once. What did you mean? Declan took a long drink, staring into the fire. Marcus Castellano was my father's closest friend. They trained together, fought together, built alliances together. When the old Alpha died, my grandfather, everyone assumed leadership would pass to Marcus. He was older, more experienced, and the pack loved him. But your father became Alpha instead, Emma guessed. My father challenged him, Declan corrected. In a formal combat, winner takes leadership. It was brutal. It lasted 3 hours. In the end, my father won, but barely. Marcus accepted the result with grace, supported my father's leadership publicly. For 5 years, they ruled the pack together, Alpha and Beta, like brothers. Declan's voice had gone dark, and Emma felt dread pooling in her stomach. What happened? My mother died, Declan said flatly. Childbirth. I survived, she didn't. My father, grief broke something in him. He became paranoid, suspicious. He started seeing enemies everywhere, even among his own pack. He accused Marcus of plotting against him, of trying to usurp his position. Was he? Emma asked, then added quickly, plotting, I mean. No, Declan said firmly. I was young, but I remember. Marcus was loyal until the very end. But my father couldn't see it. He called a pack council, made accusations, demanded Marcus submit to judgment. And my father refused. Your father challenged him, Declan said, meeting Emma's eyes. A second time, not for power, but for honor. He said he wouldn't live under an alpha who questioned his loyalty. The fight was shorter this time, more vicious. When it was over, my father banished Marcus and anyone who wanted to follow him. 27 wolves left that night, including your father, your mother, and you. Emma's breath caught. I was there. You were 6 months old, Declan confirmed. Marcus carried you himself, wrapped in furs, heading south toward unclaimed territory. My father died 5 years later, and I inherited a broken pack and a fractured legacy. I sent word to Marcus, asking him to return, to reunite the bloodlines. He never responded. Because he couldn't, Emma whispered, understanding dawning. If he came back, it would look like he was accepting your father's judgment, admitting guilt. His pride wouldn't allow it. Stubborn man, Declan said, but there was affection in his voice. I tried twice more over the years. The last time was 10 years ago. I went to Castellano territory myself, met with Marcus face to face. What did he say? Declan's smile was sad. He said that reunification was impossible while pride divided us. But he also said, Declan paused, his voice rough with emotion. He said that if anything ever happened to him, I should protect you. That you were the key to something larger than either of our packs could see. Emma's throat was tight. He knew. About the prophecy. I think so, yes. I think the seer visited both our territories before she died. I think she told Marcus what she told my father, that our bloodlines would reunite through a bond neither of us could predict or prevent. Declan leaned forward, his eyes intense. Emma, your father didn't send you into the forest randomly. He sent you to my territory specifically. That's why you ended up here instead of anywhere else in the north. The revelation hit Emma like a physical blow. Her father's last words echoed in her memory. Run and don't look back. But he'd pushed her east, toward Blackthorn territory, toward Declan. Even in his final moments, Marcus Castellano had been planning, strategizing, ensuring his daughter's survival. He sacrificed everything, Emma whispered. His pack, his life, everything, to get me here. He saved you, Declan said gently. And in doing so, he might have saved all of us. Emma stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Outside, snow fell steadily, covering the blood-stained ground, making everything clean and new. But she could still smell the battle, still taste blood in her mouth, still feel her father's hands on her shoulders as he pushed her toward the trees. I don't want to be someone's prophecy, she said, her voice breaking. I just want my father back. I want my pack back. I want to go home. I know, Declan said, and suddenly he was behind her, his presence warm and solid. But we can't always choose our path, Emma. Sometimes it chooses us. She turned to face him, tears streaming down her face. I don't even know you. How can this bond be real? How can I feel like this about a stranger? You tell me, Declan said, reaching up to wipe away her tears. What does your wolf say? Emma closed her eyes, reaching inward to where her wolf waited. The animal was calm now, content in a way Emma hadn't felt since childhood. Her wolf wasn't confused or conflicted. Her wolf knew exactly what Declan was to them. Emma stays with me, Declan continued, cutting off several protests before they could form. She knows Shadowfang tactics. She's an asset, not a liability. Anyone who disagrees can challenge me after we've killed the hunters on our land. No one challenged. The Blackthorn pack began to move, melting into the forest in small groups, using the trees and terrain as cover. Declan shifted, and Emma's breath caught at the sight of his wolf. Massive, powerful, beautiful in a terrifying way. He looked back at her with those amber eyes, and Emma felt the bond pull taut between them. She shifted too, her wolf finally freed after days of suppression. The transformation rippled through her, and for a moment, the pain of loss, the exhaustion, the fear all melted away. There was only the forest, the hunt, the pack, and Declan, leading them into battle. They moved through the trees like shadows, silent despite their size. Emma's senses sharpened. She could smell the Shadowfang hunters now, their scent foreign and aggressive in Blackthorn territory. She could hear them too, crashing through the forest with none of the stealth her father had drilled into his own pack. They thought they'd already won. The first Shadowfang hunter died without ever seeing his killer. One moment he was trudging through snow, weapon drawn, and the next Moira's wolf had torn out his throat. His partner turned with a shout that cut off as Emma hit him from the side, her jaws finding the weak point between shoulder and neck. Blood filled her mouth, hot, coppery raw. But her wolf didn't care. This was vengeance for her father, for her pack, for everything Shadowfang had taken. The forest erupted into chaos. Shadowfang hunters shouted orders, trying to form defensive positions, but the Blackthorns were everywhere and nowhere. They struck from shadows, melted into trees, attacked from above and below. Emma stayed close to Declan, watching his back as he'd instructed, and in turn, he never strayed far from her side. But the Shadowfang Coalition hadn't conquered half the northern territories by being weak or stupid. They adapted quickly, forming tight groups, using silver weapons and fire to create barriers. The Blackthorn advantage began to slip. Emma saw it happening, saw the noose tightening, and made a split-second decision. She darted away from Declan, ignoring his warning snarl, and circled around to where a cluster of Shadowfang hunters were preparing some kind of explosive device. If they detonated that in the forest, it would scatter the Blackthorn pack, make them vulnerable. She shifted mid-leap, landing in human form with knives already in her hands. The hunters spun toward her, weapons rising, but Emma was faster. Years of her father's training, combined with desperate necessity, made her lethal. She moved like water, like wind, like something more than human. The first hunter went down with a knife through his eye. The second managed to fire a shot that grazed her shoulder, But then her second knife was in his throat. The third activated the explosive, his face twisted in a victorious snarl. Emma dove for it, knowing she was too late, knowing she'd failed. And then Declan was there, batting the device away with one massive paw. It sailed through the air and detonated 30 feet away, the explosion muffled by snow and distance. Declan shifted, his human form appearing between Emma and the remaining hunters. "Run," he growled, his alpha voice resonating with power. "Tell your coalition that Blackthorn territory is defended. Tell them that Emma Castellano is under my protection. Tell them that if they come back, I'll kill every single one of them." The surviving hunters, only 3 now, looked at each other, then at the carnage around them. Bodies littered the snow, more Shadowfang than Blackthorn, but the toll was evident. One of the hunters, older than the others with a scar bisecting his face, locked eyes with Declan. "The coalition doesn't negotiate with dead packs," the hunter said. "You're just delaying the inevitable. Then come back with your full strength," Declan invited, his smile terrible. "I'll be waiting." The hunters fled. Moira started to pursue, but Declan stopped her with a gesture. "Let them go. Let them carry the message." As the sounds of retreat faded into the forest, the Blackthorn pack began to regroup. Several were injured, too seriously, but no one had died. Emma watched them move with the ease of long practice, the injured being supported by the healthy, defensive positions being maintained despite the victory. This was what a true pack looked like, she realized. Not the isolated, secretive group her father had led, but a unit that functioned as one organism. Declan turned to her, his eyes still glowing wolf-bright. "You disobeyed a direct order." "I saved our lives," Emma countered, adrenaline making her bold. "You could have died, but I didn't." They stared at each other for a long moment, the bond between them pulling taut with emotion, anger, fear, desire, something deeper that Emma wasn't ready to name. Then Declan closed the distance between them and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was fierce and desperate, tasting of blood and battle, and something wild that made Emma's wolf howl with joy. She kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands fisting in his shirt, her body pressing against his as if she could meld them together. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma saw the same stunned expression on Declan's face that she felt in her own chest. "We're going to have that conversation," he said roughly. "Now?" The Blackthorn pack assembled in the clearing outside the main lodge with the efficiency of a military unit. Emma watched from Declan's cabin porch as wolves emerged from the forest, some shifting mid-stride, others arriving already in human form. They moved with purpose, weapons appearing from hidden caches, silver blades, reinforced bows, and other tools Emma didn't recognize. Moira, the scarred woman from the forest, approached the cabin with a bundle in her arms. She thrust it at Emma without ceremony. "Clothes that won't get you killed," Moira said bluntly. "And these?" She produced 2 curved knives, their blades etched with runes. "Silver core, blessed by a pack shaman. They'll cut through Shadowfang hide." "Why are you helping me?" Emma asked, taking the bundle. "You made it clear you don't trust me." Moira's scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. "I don't. But Alpha has claimed you as pack, and I trust his judgment. Besides," she added, her voice dropping, "Shadowfang killed my mate and my daughter 15 years ago. Any enemy of theirs bleeds for my family." The raw grief in the woman's voice made Emma's throat tight. She nodded, clutching the bundle to her chest. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Save your sorry," Moira said. "Kill Shadowfang instead." Inside the cabin, Emma changed quickly into the clothes Moira had brought, leather pants reinforced with some kind of flexible armor, a fitted jacket that allowed movement while providing protection, and boots that fit perfectly despite Moira never asking her size. Pack magic, she realized. The Blackthorns were showing her capabilities her own pack had lost generations ago. She strapped the knives to her thighs, feeling their weight, their balance. Her wolf stirred with approval, finally allowed to prepare for a fight instead of running. When she emerged, Declan was waiting. He'd changed too, now wearing tactical gear that made him look like a warlord from ancient times. His eyes raked over her, checking the fit of the armor, the placement of her weapons. "Can you fight?" he asked. "My father trained me," Emma replied. "I'm not helpless." "I didn't ask if you were helpless. I asked if you could fight." Declan stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Because the Shadowfang Coalition doesn't take prisoners, Emma. This isn't a border skirmish. This is them making a statement. Then we make one back, Emma said, surprised by the steel in her own voice. Declan's smile was fierce and proud. Good. Stay close to me. If something happens, nothing's going to happen, Emma interrupted. You said it yourself. Pack protects pack. For a moment, something raw and vulnerable flickered across Declan's face. Then it was gone, replaced by the Alpha's mask. He reached out and brushed his thumb across her cheek, the touch sending sparks racing through her nervous system. After this, he said quietly, we're going to have a very long conversation about what you mean to me. Before Emma could respond, a howl tore through the night. Closer now, edged with violence. Declan's head snapped up, his body coiling with tension. They're at the eastern border, he said. 20, maybe 30 strong. They're not even trying to hide their numbers. His lip curled in disgust. Arrogant, or confident, Emma said darkly. The Shadowfang Coalition destroyed my pack in less than an hour. 30 warriors was just the first wave. Declan's eyes met hers, and she saw calculation there, strategy forming. How many came to your territory? We counted at least 60 before my father made me run. There could have been more. A muscle ticked in Declan's jaw. The Blackthorns number 42, including elders and juveniles. If they bring 60 fighters. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Then we don't fight them head on, Emma said, her tactical mind engaging despite the fear clawing at her throat. My father taught me that superior numbers mean nothing in unfamiliar territory. They're in your forest now, Declan. Use that. Declan stared at her for a long moment, then barked out a laugh. Marcus really did raise a warrior. He turned to the assembled pack, his alpha voice carrying across the clearing. Change of plans. We're not meeting them in open combat. We're going to bleed them in the forest, make them afraid of every shadow, every sound. We're going hunting. A savage cheer went up from the Blackthorn pack. Moira was grinning, her scars pulling tight across her face. Other pack members shifted into wolf form, their eyes glowing with predatory anticipation.